Jack was talking in his sleep non-stop all the time.
What does he say, or does he just...
Oh no, it's like, it's full-on conversations. There was like at one point, well, I had a hard time falling asleep to start with, and so when I was still kind of like half awake and I hear him like rustling around the side of the bed as if he's looking for something, and I'm like, Jack, are you okay? What are you looking for? And he like spins round and he's like, oh, thank goodness, and like lays his head on my chest and is like hugging me and falling asleep. And I was like, Jack, what's going on? He was like, I thought I was lost, but I'm okay now. And I was like, okay. And then I just let him sleep there for a second, and I'm like,
oh, get off.
what's going on? Yeah. And then he like rolls over and goes back to bed, and I can't remember, he says something else after that. But then I realised that when he'd like been rustling around on the side of the bed, like on the floor, he'd actually just picked up a pair of his boxers and then he'd left that on my chest where he'd been laying. So I was like, is this a fucking joke? Like, what is wrong
Were they
with
white
you?
boxers with skid marks? Hello and welcome to episode 5 of our podcast.
It's 26 to Life, where after 26 years of friendship, Catherine and I have been friends for longer than a life sentence.
Oh my god, I've just realised we've forgotten to introduce ourselves the last few times. So,
I'm Rosie.
I'm Catherine, and in our podcast we tell each other true crime stories that the other one hopefully hasn't heard. And today is episode 5, and I am telling you all about Muriel McKay. Please note that today's episode and all of our episodes include conversations around murder, abuse, kidnapping, child abuse, drug use, and all of everything else.
All of the worst things.
Actually, today it is kidnapping and murder.
Spoilers.
So please only listen when you are not feeling super vulnerable, and think carefully about listening with children. Right, let's do it.
Ready. I'm so ready.
What's your favourite season?
Probably anything but winter, basically. I really like autumn and spring because, like, I
The
find
worst
that
too.
Why are spring and autumn the worst too?
Just a bit of nothing burgers, aren't they?
I just love the evenings in spring and autumn. I like the crisp air, you know, you've still got some warm sunlight. But then it's not too hot that you have to walk around in shorts. I find wearing shorts in England is just atrocious. You should never have to wear shorts in England. Like, it's just embarrassing.
What are you talking about?
I will wear shorts all day, every single day when I'm abroad. But in England, in the UK, you will never find me wearing a pair of shorts.
Well, you're just wrong.
I find it
Summer
really cringe.
and winter are the two best. I want complete polarized weather. I want hot, where it's warm until 11 o'clock at night. And then in the winter, I don't like the kind of like today's lovely. It's blue skies and sunny, but it's cold. I like that. So this is set in winter, and it's all very snowy and it's all very nice. And today we are talking about Muriel McKay. Who was Muriel? Muriel Frida Nielsen was born on the 4th of February 1914. What happened in 1914? Go.
World War One.
Very good. She was born in Adelaide in South Australia. Have you been to Australia? You've not been to Australia.
No. Have you?
Me neither. No. On January the 6th, she marries the love of her life. Obviously not the same year because she was a baby. She actually waits until 1938. And she marries her childhood sweetheart, Alec McKay. So she is now Muriel McKay. In 1956, Alec and Muriel move to Wimbledon. Now, they move there because Alec gets a job as a deputy to Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, he was bigwig. Okay.
He was a beanock.
A what?
Beanock.
What's that?
Big name on campus.
That's not a real thing. You've just made that up.
I have not made that up. If I just made that up, then
that'd be very clever. But I've literally never heard that in my life. But Alec has been given a senior position at News Limited. Now, Rupert Murdoch is mega uber rich and powerful in what's it called, like the world of news and news broadcasting, in the world of broadcasting. Yes. So just to give you an idea, in the UK he owns the Sun and the Times. In Australia he owns the Daily Telegraph, Herald Sun and the Australian. In the US he owns the Wall Street Journal and New York Post. He owns the book publisher HarperCollins.
Whoa.
Yeah. The television broadcasting channels Sky News Australia and Fox News. He was the owner of Sky, 21st Century Fox and News of the World. However, he no longer owns Sky and 21st Century Fox, and News of the World is no longer. In 2002, guess what his net worth was?
3.8 billion.
$21.7 billion as... Yeah.
Oh, I was way off.
You were way off. You idiot.
Idiot.
The 2nd of March, 2022. So Alec and Muriel, they have a lovely life in London. You know, like they're very well respected. They're very well off. There's a photo, which I'm going to put here, of them actually at Buckingham Palace. Now, I couldn't find out why they were at Buckingham Palace, but they all look very happy with their kids. And, you know, it's likely that it was due to his job. And, you know, they were around very high profile people. Muriel and Alec lived in St Mary's House on Arthur Road in Wimbledon. So Wimbledon is a gorgeous part of London. It's in southwest London, and it's where the tennis happens.
Yeah,
but it's quite a rich,
checks out.
It's quite a wealthy area. They have this beautiful house. If I kind of describe it to you, the picture will be there, but it's, imagine the front doors in the middle, like American style in the middle. On either side, there's 3 sets of windows. So it's quite broad, like wide American style house.
Yeah.
I bet it was expensive then, but today, similar houses in that area go for roughly 3 to 5 million. And the ones that I found are a lot smaller and aren't fully detached, whereas the one we're looking at today is a lot bigger and is fully detached. So
can you find it on Zoopla?
The actual house, no, I tried. That's why I had to go for similar kind of houses. So they're well off, right? Like obviously, but they're nowhere near Rupert Murdoch wealthy.
Well, yeah,
they're just right. They have 3 grown-up children at the time that this case takes place, and they are Jennifer, Diane, and Ian, and they have 4 grandchildren.
And so, what year did you say this case is happening?
1969.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So 29th of December, we're now looking at what happened. 29th of December, 1969, Muriel is, can you do the maths?
55.
Well done. Muriel, it would have taken me a lot longer than that. I had to write it down. Muriel was 55 years old. Now, she saw the whole family, because the kids are grown up and have their own lives. She saw the whole family on Christmas Day, but she had to return home in time for the 29th. Now, this is only 3 weeks after her husband and Rupert Murdoch have launched the Sun newspaper. Rupert Murdoch...
So, he works quite closely with Rupert then, Alec?
Yeah, so very
super
close.
Close. Wow, okay.
Yeah. Rupert Murdoch had returned to Australia, so he's also Australian, and he's gone back to Australia for Christmas with his wife, Anna. And while he's gone back home, he said to Alec and Muriel, do you want to use my car? Like, he's got a beautiful Rolls Royce. Do you want to use it? And obviously,
oh, so they're really close then, huh?
Yeah, and obviously, who's going to be like, no, don't fancy a Rolls Royce for Christmas?
Yeah.
So they borrow the car. So on the 29th of December, Muriel is arriving home. Now, this is where sources differ. I don't think it's hugely important, but some sources say she was returning from a doctor's appointment, and some say that she was dropping the housekeeper home. Either way, Muriel arrives home in this Rolls Royce. Now, she pulls up outside her home in Wimbledon, but as she gets out, she notices two men are on her driveway. If you are Muriel, that's weird, right? There shouldn't be anyone standing on your driveway. So she immediately panics and gets inside. She grabs the phone. However, the two men managed to force themselves inside, grabbed her and forced her into their car.
Oh no.
Yeah. So all of the sources seemed really obsessed with the fact that she had made it inside but hadn't put the chain on. And they seem to think that that was how they got in. I don't know if that's because it was one of those doors that you have to lock from the inside and therefore the quickest thing you can do is chain it. But either way, it seems...
I mean, I would have said that it would be quicker to lock the door than chain it. Because the chain is, I don't know about, I mean, with my door, it's just a quick turn. I don't know what door it would be like. But a chain is like a little bit more fiddly, isn't it? Because you have to get it into the slot.
I'm also thinking she managed to get into the house and the house was probably locked. Like the front door was locked. But either way, she didn't chain the door and they managed to get into the house. They grabbed her. They took the phone off her. They actually ripped the phone. And this is broad daylight and no one sees anything. So she's bundled into their...
busy area where she lives? You said that their driveway is quite big. Is it... do they have neighbours?
It would be quite secluded. Like there's, if you look at the pictures, there's a lot of like hedges around it. So it's not like if I was kidnapped on my front doorstep, everyone would see everything.
Yeah.
Do you know? And so that's it. She's gone and nobody knows anything. Alec arrives home at about 7:45 and immediately he knows something is wrong. The front door is open, for starters. Weird. The contents of Muriel's purse is everywhere. The inside door is damaged. So this is where I think there's two doors, like to get into the house. And the stuff from Muriel's bag, it's not even like it's out on the counter or anything like that. It's all up the stairs. So that's really strange. And then also the phone has been ripped from the wall. So it's not left off the hook. It's actually been ripped out of the wall. And by 8 p.m, Alec knows something's not right and he reports her missing, which is great because so many times we're like, we hear this and they're like, oh, well, we left it a few hours to see if she came home. Alec it's very obvious she's not gone to the shops. And so by 8 p.m, 15 minutes after returning home, he has called the police and reported her missing. Now, the reason that they were very... Muriel was very aware of her surroundings and very... Again, this is a state of hypervigilance, but even more so around being at home because only 3 months prior they had been burgled. Now, burglary is obviously such an invasion of privacy and I know that people, you know, it makes you feel on edge and it makes you feel nervous. So she was not just letting anyone in the door. She was, you know, and the family was really confused about this because they didn't realise that the door had been forced open. They thought Muriel had let these people in. And so they were so confused as to why she would have done that. 6 hours later at 1 a.m, what's that, 5 hours later or whatever, the kidnappers call and they say, we are M3, part of a mafia group. We have kidnapped Muriel and you need to pay £1 million to get her back. Now, that was a huge amount at the time. To put it into context, today it would be 15 to 20 million pounds. So this is...
Do they have that kind of money?
They weren't like these multi-millionaires like Rupert Murdoch was, but they would have probably been able to access it.
Yeah.
However, this answers your question even more. The kidnappers said on the phone, and I quote, we tried to get Rupert Murdoch's wife. We couldn't get her, so we took yours instead. You have to get £1 million by Wednesday night. or we will kill her.
Oh my goodness.
So this whole thing was a case of mistaken identity.
How mad would you be?
She was in the wrong car.
They followed the car because they
were following the car. They were following the car.
Stop it.
So they didn't actually know anything about Rupert and Anna. They just found the car, followed the car. No.
Oh no,
Rupert
so they
and
didn't
Anna.
know about
they
Rupert.
Didn't know they didn't know like where they lived and stuff. They just were going for whoever was in the car, and they assumed that that would be Anna, so they grabbed Muriel. The worst case of mistaken identity ever.
I'm never going to borrow anyone's car ever again.
No one's kidnapping us out of our Nissan Juke, babe.
Yeah, probably not.
I have a question. How do you get someone's phone number?
I mean, back in the day, there was a telephone book, wasn't there?
Do you reckon? You imagine just the two kidnappers being like, M. 0208.
So she must have told them her name then, because how else would they have known her name unless they went into her purse for her identification?
Could have gone into her purse. Could have, once they've grabbed her, them, you know, they could have said something and she'd be like, no, wait, I'm not that person.
Oh, well,
it could have been that she, they realised, like they recognised once, you know?
Yeah. And to think, I was thinking about the number, that it would have been a home number. So there must have been some kind of registry that you could access with phones linked to addresses.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably wouldn't know how to do that, but surely it would have been available.
Yeah. But the plan is to use the media to get her back. Now, we know this is normal. That's, you know, but even more so, this is to do with, like, the news mogul. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Like, he's so important, Rupert Murdoch, because obviously Rupert Murdoch's going to be helping with this, I would assume. But her case is on the front page for 16 weeks. So
he controls all of the news, the major headlines, because he owns those newspapers and Fox News.
But also, that means that she is missing for 16 weeks.
Oh. So they didn't get the £1 million for Wednesday.
So we'll come to how they try to give them the money and it goes pear-shaped.
Okay.
But it for 16 weeks, her missing is at the front, on the front page, you know. And in that time, there's something like 17 phone calls to the family, and sometimes they'd last like an hour and a half. So they would call and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. The daughter, Diane, and she becomes quite important later, she makes this plea, like, please let my mother come back. And the family is desperate. They keep saying there's no reason that anyone would take Muriel. She's never hurt a fly. She's wonderful. Everyone loves her. And please, please, please bring her back. Now, this was the first ever kidnap for ransom in the UK or in England.
Really?
So it's a big deal and it's a big one. Muriel's son would record some of the phone calls and he's always struggled to talk about it since, but he was often the one who answered the phone, and he describes feeling really, really anxious, and for 6 weeks he manned the phones waiting for these phone calls to come in to try and get it so that they would give Muriel back. The newspaper, and I don't understand this, the newspaper published the family's phone number.
What?
Which I don't know if it's a case of like, if you have any information, please call. But of course, inevitably, we know what happens. You get horrible people
sickos
making prank calls. Who does this? Why are people like this?
So sick in the head. I just couldn't think of anything worse. I don't know why it crosses your mind to hear about someone who's in one of the most vulnerable stages of their lives, going through such a tragedy, and you think, you know what, I'm gonna tell
I'm going to
them.
call and mess with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck with them.
Yeah.
It's just like what kind of person even thinks like that?
It don't
baffles
even
me.
know. And they asked the kidnappers for proof that Muriel was alive, and the kidnappers, clearly amateurs, sent part of her clothing. How is that proof of life? Idiots. On the 1st of February, there is the first attempt to deliver the money. So this is actually not on the Wednesday.
8 weeks after.
No,
6
4.
weeks. 4 weeks. Oh, because it was
on
end
the
of
29th of December, 1st of February. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the kidnappers called the McKay's son Ian and told him to bring £500,000 to a crossroads on the A10. A policeman goes in his place, but the kidnappers suspect an ambush, and so they don't arrive at the meeting point. So that's the first attempt to give it to them. On the 6th of February, the kidnappers want Alec and Diane to deliver the money in 2 suitcases. They were to go by tube to Epping, where they would then receive a phone call. Then they'd have to take a taxi to Bishop's Stortford and leave the money opposite a minivan near a garage. Then they were to return to Epping. Now, police officers went in their place, and they also take a police officer in the boot of the car, which I just think is hilarious. So
so they drove there rather than getting the train?
No. So exactly. So this is my question. So you're meant to be getting the tube to Epping and then getting a cab. So do you have the police officer planted in the cab beforehand? So he's just sitting in the boot of the car. Do you have to take an extra police officer with you, like undercover, and then just somehow shove him in the boot of the car? But what if they're watching the car? Imagine being the taxi driver and saying, I'm really sorry, but from about 10 in the morning, can you keep this man in the boot of your car? We will meet you in Epping about 12:30.
But also, what's the man in the car supposed to do? The boot of the car supposed to do if something
You
was
can't
to go
get
wrong?
out of the boot of the car.
Genuinely, what's the point? Imagine you can hear like, I don't know, some crap going down, and you're just stuck in the boot.
The other 2 are kidnapped or dead, and you're like, don't worry, I'm the backup. I'm here.
It's so stupid.
Don't worry, guys, I'm on it.
Just let me out if you need me. Yeah. Right.
Excuse me, I am here. I know you're thinking of running off with that money, but remember you've got a police officer in the back of the car.
It's so silly.
So there is a source that says, so the kidnappers specifically requested Diane to drop the money off. They'd seen her on the TV and they were like, oh, like her. We want her. Now, the police said absolutely no way, we'll send police in her place. They couldn't find, now this is not corroborated, is that the right word? By a huge amount of sources, but they needed a female police officer to dress up as Diane, and they couldn't find one. So they had to get a man to dress up in Diane's or a female's clothes. Now, I had a look at this because I thought, come on, you can't find a female police officer. That is mental. I understand not being able to find a female female police officer who looks like her, but surely you'll be able to find a female police officer. So, in 1989, there were, in total, including CID, 697 female officers. Now, I can't find the exact amount in 1989 of how many police officers there were, but 4 years earlier in 1965, there were 18,000 police officers in total. So, let's say regular police officers, there's roughly 500 females. That's out of 18,000.
18,000?
Spread over the whole country. So out of 18,000, there's about 500 female police officers.
So that's like 3%, barely.
Yeah. So no wonder they couldn't find a female police officer.
Is that the right math? Probably not.
Terrible math.
Move on before anyone questions it. Go. Quick.
So Rosie just said that if there's 500 out of 18,000... Anyway, I can't do math, so who am I to judge?
18,000. I'm going to actually calculate this real quick.
Let's play some waiting music. Bing 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 bing. Rosie can't do maths. That's true.
Actually, oh, wait a second. 2.7%, so 3% was not far off. I did do the math right. Thank you.
But on this second attempt, a random person finds the suitcases and calls the police.
What? Well, thank God they called the police and reported them, because I would have taken that.
Exactly.
Ran with it.
And can you imagine taking it and then all of a sudden you're hauled in for kidnapping and you'd be like, what? I just found £500,000 and wanted it. I don't know anything about kidnapping.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Just
what are you talking about?
Find his
keepers, losers, weepers. Anyway, that nosy Nelly ruined that one. So,
goodness sake.
While this is going down, while the man's like, beep, 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 excuse me, I found this £500,000, can I have it? They see a Volvo who, like the Volvo's a person, they see a Volvo that is driven around this area numerous times, and they think, suspicious. They trace the number plate and they see that it leads back to a farm in Hertfordshire.
Which isn't far from Bishop Stortford.
It isn't far from Bishop Stortford.
Where in Hertfordshire?
It's called Stocking Pelham. But this farm is called Rook's Farm. And it belongs to 34-year-old Arthur Hussein. Hussein's fingerprints matched those that are found on the ransom demands. So we now, so Muriel, surely she's in the farm.
Yeah.
They go to the farm, they search everywhere, and
wait. They arrested him, or he had his fingerprints on file already?
So they had the fingerprints from the thingamajiggy,
the ransom note.
They track the number plate. They go to the farm. They find out he's the owner. They search the farm. I think so. They take the fingerprints. They realise that he's matchy. They search the farm. They don't find Muriel. Some sources say that they don't find Muriel. They don't find anything. Some sources say they don't find Muriel, but they find indicators that she had been there. So then it's like, okay, well, is that her clothes? Is that, I don't know, a place where she would have been tied up? I don't know. But
well, if they find her clothes there, then she must be still alive, because that's their reasoning, right?
Logical.
Yeah.
Didn't you know that when you die, your clothes just disappear? They just gone.
I did not know that. You learn something new every day.
They would with you and my sister around. Oh, she's dead. Take the lot.
Take the lot.
So, the police are certain that Muriel is dead. And they charge Arthur Hussein and his brother with murder. They say that they found clues, but the brothers will not tell them where she was. So who are these two dipsticks?
Losers,
absolute turds. We have Arthur Hussein, who was 34 years old at the time of the crime, and he was considered what they call the mastermind behind the plot. Now,
that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
Take issue with the term mastermind because he seems like an idiot to me. Yeah. But basically what I think they mean is it was his idea.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, mastermind's a bit of a stretch.
Then we've got Nizamuddin Hussain, who was 22 years old and acted as the accomplice. So he was the one who was like, I don't know, let's cut off a piece of her T-shirt. That must mean she's alive. There is a theory that there was a third brother, which is why they were called M3, Adam, but they never proved this, or if he was proved to be a real person, they never proved that he was involved. But this farm was Arthur's, and the farm in Hertfordshire. So why did this happen? These two brothers saw on the news Rupert Murdoch and the whole, I think it was to do with the deal over buying the Sun, but they were basically like, he's got a lot of money. Yeah. How can we get some of that? And they thought it was going to be a super easy payout. You know, we kidnap her, ask Rupert Murdoch for £1 million. He's not even going to bat an eyelid at £1 million. We'll get that. Obviously, they then followed the car, not the person. Didn't realise it wasn't Anna Murdoch. Kidnapped Muriel, thinking it was Anna, and then realised they just had to go with it because here we are.
Because they're silly.
So they went to the trial at the Old Bailey, and this was the first ever conviction of murder with no body.
Oh, wow.
Now, they were charged and convicted with burglary, kidnap, and murder. They also found that the voice matched the voice from the phone calls, because if you remember, there was a lot of them had been recorded, and there'd been a lot of phone calls.
Yeah. Wait, you said burglary. Did they steal anything?
I think the definition of burglary is entering someone's property illegally. I think.
Shall I Google it?
Yeah.
Illegal entry of a building with intent to commit a crime. It does say especially theft.
Yeah, but they have burgled. They've entered illegally, forced entry. Guess how long they got?
Oh, gosh. Am I going to be mad, or is it?
You're going to be mad.
Oh, mad. They probably got like 4 years or something, didn't they?
No, not quite that bad. But they only got 20 years. So if you think that Nizamuddin Hussain was only 22, 20 years is nothing, in my opinion.
They're already out.
Yeah. But
living their lives.
Well, not really, but I'll tell you. Nizamuddin was released after 20 years and was deported back to Trinidad. Very sadly, Alec died in 1983. So he never got to find his wife's body. However, this case comes back to us today because in 2022, Arthur, the older brother, he died of a heart attack, I think, in prison. But we don't know. See ya, loser. In 2022, the family sees a documentary, and the producers say that they've found Nizamuddin in Trinidad because, I don't know if you know this, but he is still alive, outliving his life. Nizamuddin. How mad does that make you?
That's, infuriating.
So these documentary makers, they say they found him, and the family's like, well, do you know what? We could see if he knows anything. We could potentially find her body at this point. Now, there is a guy called Mark Randolph Dyer, who is the grandson of Muriel McKay. He is Diane. I don't know if you remember her. She was the one that they wanted to deliver the money. It was her son. And he was only 6 years old when this happened. And he travels to Trinidad with his mum, who is 84.
Wow.
Because they want the information on where Muriel's body is. So on the 27th of January 2023, they go there. And they met Nizamuddin. And they actually were far more pleasant to him than I could have been. Like, why are you laughing at me? Because I yawned.
You just went straight back into it now.
You do this really funny thing where, because I cut out the yawns, it looks like you're laughing at the story. So I'll be like, they found the body, and you'll be on the other side like...
Shit. Oh no.
The power.
I'm going to yawn again. Whoa! Well, she's not a psychopath.
Look serious. So the killer is like, oh, so emotional. I haven't slept for 50 years. He hugs Diane. I know, honestly, I'm like, I don't
touch
care.
me.
I just don't care. And he says that the body's at the farm. You've just been looking in the wrong place. And he's pointing to this spot on the farm. And this is an area that they actually have not searched yet. So
who owns the farm now? Is it, I'm assuming, obviously,
someone else, not them. But the police are saying, don't worry, even if they won't give us permission, we'll get a warrant. But he is pointing to a part that hasn't been searched yet. So Mark, the grandson, believes, yep, he's genuinely sorry. And he goes on to say how blown away he is by his mother's bravery, which I do understand. Like, this is incredible to be able to do. But Mark and Diane fly home and they go and meet with the police. And on the 21st of February, they present all this evidence to the police. This is 2023. And the police, they're on board. They're going to check all the evidence. And they were like, oh, we'd planned to go to Trinidad ourselves, but we hadn't got round to it. And now we don't need to. So thanks very much.
50 years they've planned to... What? Shut up.
Since this guy's been out there. But also, you had him in custody for all that time. So you could have interviewed him at any point to find out where the body was.
Mad. The
police say they're going to go and search within the next few weeks. They think they'll be given permission by the owner, but like I said, if not, they are prepared to get a warrant. The police at some point do eventually go and speak to him themselves, but nothing ever comes of this. So this area is then searched and there's no body. So Muriel McKay's remains have still not been found. To this day. So the family is very, very grateful to someone called Catherine Goodwin, and she is the detective that is now in charge of their case, or she was at the time that all of this was happening. And she is the detective chief inspector in charge of the Sarah Everard case. She's the one who found Wayne Couzens. So they fully believe that she will be able to close this case. I think that man doesn't have remorse. Otherwise, he'd be telling them where the body is. He's obviously just talking nonsense. You don't forget where you buried a body.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
And they've considered even buying the land themselves to find Muriel's body.
Just taking it all up, yeah.
But this is hard for the family. Like, Diane is now old. Alec has now passed away. And they still don't have any closure. Diane
says
able to
put their mum to rest.
No, and Diane says something that's really what's the word? She says, I probably shouldn't say this, blah blah blah, but I get why she's saying it, because this case is so unfair. It shouldn't have been them. And like, I'm not saying anyone deserves for it to be, but it is just such a it's wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, it's bad luck, and it's really unfair. And I also just think, how is that man out living his life?
Yeah. Did Rupert ever make a statement on it, or Anna?
Not that I could find, no. I think Anna briefly said, I'm sorry this happened. But, and I'm sure Rupert was potentially supportive, like financially and in running the newspaper articles. But I thought I would find a statement from the two of them. We're so, we're heartbroken, we're devastated with this. And if they did, it didn't immediately pop up.
Especially
or not even immediately, it didn't pop up.
They were close enough that they borrowed their car, Yeah, it's not as if they were just... I don't know. I mean, it's not as if he was just the boss of this whole corporation, and this woman was like a customer service associate that he'd never spoken to, like, that he had no interaction with. They were close. They ran in similar circles, and they borrowed his car. I would have expected.
Yeah, I mean,
something.
The thing is, he very well may have. He may have had a lot more to do with behind the scenes, pulling the strings of all of that. He might have even been the one who provided the money. I just don't know. But I didn't find anything.
That's very
There was no Muriel McKay like foundation. you know, that had been set up in her honor. There was nothing like, now I'm saying that, I might be wrong. But anyway, the killer says he wants to put this to rest. He wants them to find Muriel's body. The police say that his account isn't consistent. And this is where I do tend to agree with Mark and the murderer, because Mark is saying for the sake of finding Muriel, they would have met with the killer, been nice to him, put him up in a nice hotel, you know, appealed to his better nature, let's say. And the police didn't do that. And so the police, you know, the killer admits to being scared of the police, which, as much as I think he's an awful, disgusting person, I can understand that. He went into prison when he was 22 years old. He won't have been treated well by the police, and so he is scared of them. And so Mark is saying if the police had just left us to deal with it, then we wouldn't be in this predicament. Like, he was scared to answer their questions. But I really feel for them, and I really feel for Diane, saying, you know, this is so unfair. One of the things that she does say has been good, having spoken to the killer, is that they never understood why Muriel opened the door to the killers and to the kidnappers. And having spoken to the murderer, she's now learned that actually she didn't open the front door, because that was always this thing that they had hanging over their head. Like, how did they manage to convince my mum to open the door? And the killer said, no, that's not what happened. We forced our way in, and she wasn't able to chain it in time. So we were like I said, I was a bit confused by all of that, but we were able to force our way in. And so that's kind of the question that's been answered. So I think this case is unfair all around. I don't think that the murderers got the sentence that they deserve. I don't, you know, Alec and the family didn't get their questions answered. Muriel's children are now elderly, and they still don't have a body to lay to rest. It was a complete case of wrong place, wrong time, mistaken identity. She didn't deserve it. Not that anyone does deserve it, but it wasn't meant for her. And the whole thing's rubbish.
Yeah. Is there anything still ongoing? I mean, I know that the last thing wasn't that long ago. It was 2023, but have there been more recent updates to say that they're still working on it?
So they are still working on it, but as of 2024, nothing has come about
of significance. Yeah. Oh well, that really sucks. That really sucks.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like, they're a wealthy family, buy the land, dig up the whole thing.
I mean, I probably would, just for peace of mind, you know?
Yeah, because imagine being like, oh, maybe she's literally like 3 meters to the left of where we dug.
Exactly. You could just get there, take out the whole, like, top few feet of soil, and just slowly excavate down, just to know. But I mean, it's the not knowing, because you could at least then say, yeah, we've done it, and
I think
she's
also
not there.
it would be, they might also want a cause of death, because we don't actually have a cause of death. So the kidnappers, and I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure they say that they didn't kill her. She had a heart attack while she was with them. And I'm not saying that that makes it any better, but when did she die? You know, was it a case of she was in that place for 2 days or 2 weeks, and then, you know, after a few weeks they just carried it on in the hopes that they'd get this payout? Like, even though they know what happened, there is still a huge amount of unanswered questions. Would you pay £1 million if I got kidnapped?
If I had £1 million, I'd be out of here.
Okay, chicken, tell me what you're telling me. Tell me what you're telling me about next. What are you telling me about next?
I'm telling. Well, I've chosen one that's actually quite not controversial. There's just a lot more
You're bitten off
to
more
it,
than you can chew.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to have to be really careful the way that I talk about this case. But it's about Stephen Port. He is a serial killer that in 2014, so not even that long ago, yeah, it led to an inquest in the Metropolitan Police. So, and the way that they conducted their investigations. So there was a lot of the killings that itself were one thing, but then there was a whole aftermath of exactly how the police handled the situation and how he was able to get away with it. So yeah, there's lots to go over. So it's infuriating. Spoiler alert, you're gonna be raging. You're gonna be mad. How exciting.
How exciting. So when you hear this episode, it'll be Happy Monday, team. So I hope you're having a lovely Monday and a great week. And please hang in there. And can you go and follow us on things, socials? Instagram, TikTok, we are 26tolife_pod, and YouTube and Spotify, we are 26tolifepod. Every single time that you listen to it, share it, send me a comment or Rosie a comment or a message saying
you.
Yeah, and even if you just want to say, you two, go and get a job, that's fine. Engagement is engagement. We appreciate it all. And in answer to your request, no, shan't.